I want to win the UEFA Champions League, but I only have 10 seasons. I have to start from scratch, with 0 coaching badges, with 0 playing experience. Just me and a dream. You already know what kind of a grind I am signing up for, so let's just go at it. Welcome to the Football Manager Speedrun. In the first episode, we took charge of Warrington Town in the Vanarama National League North. After finishing our very first season in the mid-table, I resigned to land a job elsewhere. That elsewhere was Spartak Myjava in Slovakia's second division, and we guided them to promotion. We stayed there for another season and guided Spartak away from relegation. However, we are now looking for our way out to a better league, but we keep being rejected by every single club. The question is, will we find the job, or will we be forced to stay for yet another season in our current club? Finally, Tondela in the second Portuguese division and ŁKS Łódź in Poland responded, but only the latter offered a coaching course and also the job, which I delayed and did it twice. Because there's one more. RVD Molenbeek in Belgium. They also offered a coaching course and also are a part of the 8th most reputable league in Europe, which would help our own reputation quite massively. But when they said no, I had no other option. Welcome to Poland. Welcome to ŁKS Łódź. Łódź is one of Poland's major cities, located right at the center of the country, and also a home to one of the fiercest rivalries in football, the one between ŁKS and Widzew. Currently, it's Widzew with more bragging rights, with 4 titles compared to ŁKS's 2 and 30 derby wins versus 20 of ŁKS. In the most recent years, ŁKS was jumping between the first and second tier of Polish football. With 2 mid-table finishes in the save so far, they look forward to establishing themselves in the top flight, which will also help us get a job in a top 5 or 6 league. Our new club started the season perfectly before we joined, with a home 4-1 win over Śląsk Wrocław. But now it's time to step in and make sure this club can fight for something better. My first look at the squad suggests we are capable of more than just mid-table. We've got some young and very talented players, most notably a centre-back Maciej Łuszcz, a midfielder Mateusz Furman, and a goalkeeper Sebastian Kasperski. But we also have 2 players worth over 10 million euros. Samet Onur from Turkey and Diego Aznar from Spain. Adding on 1.5 million of a transfer budget, there is quite some space for a rebuild. But first, I want to set up our current team. I decided to go with a quite balanced 4-2-3-1, allowing quite a lot of freedom for our players. That's because we had 0 training prior to our debut in Poland. The debut against Motor Lublin, the team that rejected us during the previous season. Mandy, who cuts into the area and he makes a long shot, the center back. Vera, a last two-way, passes back to Einar and Samet scores our first goal in ŁKS. Georgievski. Gadu finds Jakubik, who found lots of space, and he gives the lead back to Motor Lublin. He's doing that overlap himself for Nalczyk. Vera. He passes it, and Samet somehow scores the second goal. I don't know how he's put that in the back of the net. Ali Scanner is on the wing, and as I was afraid, this was Motor's highlight. That Motor is looking for a counter, and counters in the Ekstraklasa are lethal. And it's being proved right here. Wolski 4. Only Onur played well enough to score a brace in our very first game, but other than that, we'll be looking forward to a rebuild. I only met my squad after the first match, and they thought I was not ambitious enough by declaring I just want to avoid the drop. But overall, they left that meeting all happy. So now, it was time to rebuild. First was the staff, which I filled and quickly made it one of the better backroom staffs in the league. Then, I took care of the sales. I offloaded the squad by selling Nauel Szpek, Einar Galilea, Ben Digrizej, Hubert Idasiak, Michał Mokrzycki, Hussein Balic and Piotr Starzyński. During that window though, I've also seen the single worst injury ever. Looks like Dankowski's emergency replacement will be Dawid Szot from Pogoń Szczecin. I also signed Piotr Przybyłko, a talented centre-back from Jagiellonia for 1.8 million, and loaned in Alan Siwek from Borussia Mönchengladbach. But he also came injured. Our second opponents in the league were Lech Poznań at home. In this game, we've seen Joel Pereira making a strike from distance, just like Samet Onur, whose low shot somehow found the net. But that was just a moment of brightness in darkness. The only other point we got before a game against Legia Warsaw was against Jagiellonia Białystok, which means 7 games in, we were 12th. Not that bad position-wise, but keep in mind we're only safe on goal difference. We have to turn this fate around, sooner or later. All we need is a single win. The ball has been cleared and Mishtar gets to it on the left side of the pitch, I believe. Yep, this finds a cross and this finds the goal. Makes a shot over the crossbar. To shot, he finds Samet, who cuts inside into the area, makes a shot. Ojedele. Vinagre with a long shot, and the Portuguese winger in this game scores yet another. Alas two-way. Good shot. Samet, this time with a free kick, hits the post, but David's shot gets to the rebound, scores the first goal for us. Kuczko. Samet makes a shot, and he missed it barely. Despite the loss, this game showed hope, and not without reason. In the very next match against Piast Gliwice, we won our very first game in Łódź. We followed that result with a number of draws and a win against Zagłębie Lubin. So, before the Łódź derby against Widzew, we were in 13th, and the derby win would steer us away from the relegation fight, hopefully for good. Milton, this time he's on the right wing. Urcua finds Milton again, and that far post strike finds the net, and we're losing yet again. Siwek, a striker, with a corner. Wojtinho tries to score twice. Fornalczyk into an empty net. Alas two-way. Kuczko on the left. He finds Aznar, and Diego scores potentially a winning goal with 11 minutes to go. Hilary Gong on the left wing. He cuts inside, and this strike reaches the top bins. We had an advantage in the match stats, just not in the match stat that matters. Thankfully, our domination in the match stats showed against both Górnik Kłęczna and Motor Lublin, as we confidently won against these two. After a heavy loss to Śląsk Wrocław, we entered the winter break on decent 11th, which is a good platform to build from, but we don't have any chances of winning the title. Raków Częstochowa are going invincible. In case you're wondering, these are all the jobs available right now, but I'm not interested in leaving ŁKS before the season runs up, or we get an insane offer, which I didn't want anyway until at least the end of January, when I finally secured a Continental B coaching license, and you guessed it, I straight up applied for the Continental A license. Speaking of January, it's a winter transfer window, which saw an arrival of 3 players I secured during the summer. Damir Staresinic, a right back on loan from Cremonese, Bojan Pawkowicz, a centre back from Novi Pazar, though he went back to Serbia to Grafica for a loan, and a midfielder Michal Hlavatý from Czechia. We returned to action with an away game against Lech, which was one of the more entertaining ones of this save. Starting off with Ali Yavuz's goal scoring into an empty net. But shortly after, Michal Hlavatý scored his first goal in Poland. Ali Yavuz, who joined Lech from the Turkish league, proved he's a league star, finding miles of space and scoring another. But his effort was cancelled again, when Hlavatý set a brilliant ball to Fornaldo, who gave us a huge equalizer. In the second half, Yavuz seemingly scored a hat-trick, but it was offside. So, it was still a drop, and around the 60th minute, I brought in Santiago Apa. 86 minutes in, we had a brilliant chance. Martinic crossed the ball from the left side, and Santiago's header went just over the crossbar. But in the 92nd minute, we had a throw-in. Far away from Lech's goal, but we passed it to Fulman. Then, Kuczko opened up Santiago Apa, who had a brilliant chance to give us a chance for a win, and wasted it. Thankfully, we had some better performances later on. This includes wins over Nieciecha and Jagiellonia Białystok, and draws against Stal Mielec or Raków Częstochowa, who are on course to become invincible. So, before a game against Legia, we were still 11th at the table, and we were steering away from the relegation fight. If we get a result in our sold-out stadium, we may as well look upwards. Legia somehow find their way out, but they lose possession still. Alat Stui has been brought down, is stepping up, will take it, and he scores into the bottom corner. Fantastic start for us. Igor Strzałek delivers a cross. It's been cleared by Przybyłko, but the ball goes back to Reguła, who's on the right side now. Strzałek enters the area and he scores into the top bins. Jürgen Elitim this time with a corner to Coffee, and that was a fantastic volley. I have to give him that. Przybyłko, Fornalczyk finds Siwek in the middle. Siwek is on the 1v1, scores an equalizer. Alas Tui. Siwek finds space, scores for a 3-2. We're taking the lead over Legia. It's been cleared, but Hlavatý heads it to Siwek, who cuts inside, scores a hat-trick as we wanted. 4-2 over Legia Warsaw. And it's pretty much over. What a win. What a win. And it would just be perfect if we did not lose to rock bottom Piast Gliwice, which pretty much solidifies our zone in the table. We will most likely finish between 8th and 11th, playing for a whole bunch of nothing. And now we of course got more losses against GKS Tychy, Ruch Chorzów and Zagłębie Lubin, all fighting against relegation, which showed that the famous win over Legia was more of an accident. We finished the 26-27 season on a safe 11th place, away from pretty much anyone fighting for Europe or for survival. This is a perfect scenario for us though. We can focus on making this squad even stronger for the next campaign. But will we? I have to tell you a little secret. Don't know if you know, but I only have 6 seasons left to win the Champions League. And now I'm at a crossroad. Either we could look for a new job in a top league now and have to deal with a new reality, all while being slightly unprepared to be fair. Or we can stay in Łódź, complete our Continental A coaching license, maybe challenge for Europe or even the title, and then go to the top league. But the only club that is looking for a manager and will stay in the top flight for next season in the top league in Europe is Strasbourg in France. Of course, I applied and they said no. And with every other job listing being from a side that got relegated, I think we just need to complete our Continental A coaching license in Poland. So, we prepared by letting out players again. I'm talking Barna Benchen-Leitner, who returned to his native Hungary, Santiago Apa, who went to Argentina, Kamil Dankowski, who will try to restore his career in Sweden, Gleb Kuczko, who went to Ruch Chorzów, and Antonio Majcenic, who found a loan to Radnik Surtulica. I decided to use the money to make our left back slot much stronger, with Dawid Bartkowiak from Zagłębie Lubin for 1.1 million and Jakub Krzyżanowski from Wisła Kraków for $500,000. Then, a free agent Noel Jakacz improved our front line, just like Radek Tyce, on loan from Sparta Prague. Our season started with a game against Śląsk Wrocław, and this time, the start to the season felt just like the last one. Mainly because we won 3-2, and the season before, ŁKS also started by beating Śląsk Wrocław, though it was 4-1. But this time around, we capitalized on that victory, with favorable draws over Jagiellonia and Lech Poznań, and 4 more wins at the start of the campaign. We were somehow leading the league, right in front of Raków and Lech. With a win over Legia Warsaw, we could show the league we're in contention for the title. Sent long to Mark Gual, who takes control of the ball, passes to Reguła, and Reguła unfortunately opens up the scoring. Bochna gets that ball in the area, finds a pass to Aznar. Aznar scores a massive equalizer here. Paluszek with another possession loss. Mark Gual launches a counter to Gruda, and Brian is about to score the second. This title fight started to look insane. 6 teams are now within a point from each other, and it could lead to some crazy build-up throughout this year. Unfortunately, 2 draws over Raków and Górnik, as well as a loss to Pogoń followed. We cannot escape the title fight, and it may as well stay tight throughout the entire campaign. But will we be a part of it? I'm not talking about the club, I'm talking about me packing my bags and moving abroad. Because I'm looking at the calendar and it's the end of October. The perfect time for clubs to sack underperforming managers, and the perfect time for us to jump into a top 5 league. The first man to lose his job was Juan Carlos Duque, who lost his job after dragging Toulouse in France to a relegation fight. This might actually be a perfect chance to jump ships for us, so, as you might have guessed, I'm applying for this. They of course said no, so I guess I return to that topic when something more interesting than the 500th rejection happens. And to cut out any speculation about me joining a new club, everyone, and I mean everyone, said no. So there is some pressure building up in Poland. We now have to win the league title with ŁKS Łódź to have any chance of getting a job in a top 5 league. Without it, our window of Champions League opportunities will be very limited. So let's go back to our season, as we return to the Łódź derby against Widzew. The only goal came from a corner, and thankfully it was our goal. Pedro Justiniano headed the ball in and gave us the huge derby win. Fun fact, a nephew of Clarence Seydorf played in that game, but he was only here for a couple of minutes. We also added a win over Wisła Kraków, a draw against GKS Tychy, and a win over Śląsk Wrocław. This kept us in a title race. In second place, 3 points behind Cracovia. But then, both Fortuna Sittard and Heracles Almelo offered me an interview. Both teams are struggling in the Dutch league, but I think even a mid-table finish in the Netherlands could be far better than qualifying for Europe in Poland. I accepted both invitations, and after making sure I responded correctly to all the questions, maybe it was time to move. While Fortuna rejected me, Heracles offered me a contract, but I also had a board meeting to attend. This is a genuine crossroad now. I am now choosing between fighting for the title in Ekstraklasa or trying to ensure survival, but in the Netherlands. And my decision is, I want to try a bit bigger transfer budget first. And while we did not agree, I'm still walking away from the interview from Caracas Almelo. Quite surprising, isn't it? But what you might have missed is that I kept saying I'm targeting a job in the top 5 league. And the Netherlands are 6th. What's more, winning the league, even the Polish one, will put me in a much better position when it comes to new job opportunities. So, let's get that title. And lose Radek Tyce because Sparta thought he played out of his role, despite that role being locked in and personalized for him. Guess we have to do with Wojciech Ranusz instead. He's cheaper anyway. Angry at his playing time, Paluszek also left to Górnik Łęczna. We return to action with a Continental A coaching license in my hand, the penultimate coaching badge. And on the pitch, we started with a game against Jagiellonia Białystok, in which Diego Aznar scored the brace, leading us to a late win. Which means, if we get a win over Lech Poznań, we may take the lead in the league. Castro Montes now on the right side of the pitch, will be looking for a cross. Castro. And Jakobczyk starts this game with a goal in the very second minute. And it's a corner for Lech. Castro Montes again, this time to Sami Dudek, and from a rebound Brian Fabema scores. Diliberto, very open chance, and he obviously scores. Jakobczyk is on the left, Fiabema. No, this isn't a penalty as well. Żugail, not stopped. I can already tell we'll be like 3rd in the league. Krawati. Samet finds Bochnak, it's a consolation. Krawati to Samet. Samet dribbles past Sami Dudek. Samet is in the area, passes to Furman, 4-2. Well, at least we've won the second half, but they don't give points for losing, even if you win in the second half. Maybe that sensational title run was a bit too sensational, especially since Matias Dufour, now our backup keeper, left for Pogoń Szczecin for just 100k. We also lost 3-0 to Motor Lublin and 4-1 to Lechia, which means we're in a fight for second place at best, but we must count on Cracovia dropping some points on the way if we want to win our first major trophy. Only a win against Legia can bring us back into the contention. As it's a corner for us, Krawati and Przybyłko with a header gives us the lead over Legia Warsaw. Thankfully Przybyłko wins that ball back, Alas Suedo loses it. We'll be making changes very soon, but Coffee now gets to the chance and scores an equalizer, unfortunately. It's offside. He's on the left wing. And Kacperski misses the ball and may also provoke a penalty. Mark Gual versus Kacperski. And an ideal strike from Gual. A draw against Legia, and unless a miracle happens in the next couple of games, I'm pretty convinced that our goal will be to just stay in the top 4 rather than push for the title. At least, LKS will cover my final coaching badge, the Continental Pro license, which may finally allow me to manage in the top 5 league, but only after this season. Let's find out how does it finish. Starting off with a win over Górnik Zabrze. Then we faced Kraków, one of our rivals in this race. We proved our set-piece strength, with Maciej Łuszcz scoring from a corner. Jorge then rushed from the middle to enter a 1v1 and doubled our lead. And although Drapiński scored for Raków after a free kick and our own players wanted to stress me out, we held on, getting a crucial win. We then made a comeback win over Pogoń Szczecin, scoring 3 goals in 9 minutes to get all 3 points. Against GKS Katowice, we made another comeback. This time, with the help of 2 penalties, we changed the result from 2-0 to 5-2 in our favor. A 3-0 win over Termalika Nieciecza was much less chaotic and sorted out in the first half. This run of form helped us jump into 2nd in the table. We're 5 points behind Cracovia with 3 games to go, and we can make it 2 with 2 games to go. Because the next match is a sort of a title decider between us two. Win, we still have a chance. Draw or lose, the title may head to Kraków. Comes to Kalman, Rakoczy finds a lot of space and he uses that space to score the first goal. And we do get the chance. Wiśniewski, Krawati, Wiśniewski with a cross, Bartkowiak doesn't get to that header, but Furman takes the ball back. Bartkowiak is in the area, finds Krawati, hits the crossbar. At least finally something going on, but unfortunately nothing is going in. He's looking for a cross, he finds the cross. Ravos is saving the title for Cracovia today. The dream is now over. I mean, I'm not upset or anything, because we played well above expectations this season. But we still had to secure a slot in Europe, as long as we finish in the top 3. That's because Zagłębie Lubin from the 2nd division won the Polish Cup, defeating Pogoń Szczecin's B-team? I have not yet officially seen everything in this game, but I did see quite a lot. Our competition for those European slots is Raków, Lech and Legia, and our opponents barely surviving Widzew Łódź and already relegated Wisła Kraków. Though we have to remember, the rivalry against Widzew Łódź is the fiercest ŁKS rivalry. It's the derby, so we have to be alert at all times. Thankfully, Diego Aznar scored for us, but we've almost seen an overhead goal from Widzew. And the 94th minute equalizer, of course! Of course! And this means, to have any chance of overtaking Legia Warsaw in the final match day, we have to win over Wisła Kraków. Thankfully, they're rock bottom, so maybe we'll get that result while Legia plays mid-table Stal Mielec. Wisła though started this game strong. Then Fornalczyk tried to force a penalty, which he did, and Hlawaty converted it. Diego Aznar doubled the lead 30 minutes in, completed his own brace in the 64th, and finished a hat-trick in the 90th. Wisła even missed an open goal opportunity, and from our side, the task was completed. But is it enough to get a top 3 finish? Unfortunately, instead of finding a way to fight back, Stal Mielec let 2 more goals in at the end of their game, knocking us out of the podium and Europe. Still, it was a very positive season overall, but I feel we didn't get what we could. 4th place wasn't our peak. I'm saying, we could have even won the title, or gotten a podium at the very minimum. Looks like the 2nd Slovak League title is still our only trophy. But we cannot feel sorry for ourselves for too long. We got so distracted by this title fight, we forgot that we reached a halfway point of this challenge. Our big goal is the Champions League, and we have only 5 seasons left. The time is running out. We have to go to the big leagues now, but we still have to wait for something to come up, unless we want to manage in the 2nd tier. I'm thinking about RC Lone. They might be in that 2nd division, but they have 20 million euros of a transfer budget, and we could get them promoted straight away. But I still think we can go directly to the top flight. I'll give this loan application a week, because I want to see if I can go to the top 5 league first, and my chances are as follows: AS Roma, Real Sociedad, Union Berlin, and Southampton and Leeds, though both are going down from the Premier League. You guessed it, Loan offered an interview first, and I must admit it was more of the same. Leeds, Southampton and Union all heard I'm considered for a loan job, so they all asked for an interview too. And I actually got offers now, from both Leeds and Southampton, but I delayed them, knowing they'll play in the Championship. Even Lech Poznań offered an interview by themselves, but I wasn't interested, although maybe one day. Because although Real Sociedad and AS Roma didn't even invite me for an interview, Loan said yes, but I delayed them as well, as I found out Fortuna Düsseldorf was also looking for a manager. Remember, our priority is the top tier, but they said no just like Fulham. So the decision is between 2 clubs. I crossed out Southampton, because they only have half of the transfer budget compared to Leeds. Imagine 100 million of a transfer budget in the Championship, and we can spend it all. Or we can only get a fifth of those finances in loan, but that's France. After getting promoted, we could aim much higher in Ligue 1 than in the Premier League. And I decided we're going to